Welcome to the OldManGangha channel, June 13th, 2017. Haven't posted a video in a couple of weeks, and there's a reason for that. Had a couple questions from various people on why I'm commenting on this and what's with the hat and the glasses. The hat and the glasses are just simply what I wear, and I'm wearing them on the YouTube videos because I don't really want to be recognized. The whole point of this video channel is just to get the information out there. That's it. Now, to that end, I've had questions, well, who the hell are you? Are you a doctor, pharmacist? I mean, you're talking all this stuff like you have some kind of degree or something. And what are your credentials? Well, I don't have any. I'm just a guy that's blessed with a scientific mind and is able to do some research. I was hit with some pretty heavy medical issues, tried the pharmaceutical drug route, and that did not work for me. I found cannabis therapy, and it has cured virtually every ailment that I've had. I started using cannabis vaporizing for nerve pain due to nerve damage in the neck and the back. After trying painkillers and not sleeping for almost 2 weeks straight and going into sleep deprivation, hallucinatory fits, I decided to try cannabis. Slept for 4 hours and have been using it for neck pain, high THC for neck pain and lower back pain ever since. Shortly after that, I was diagnosed with diverticulosis, severe gastrointestinal malady. Did some more research on cannabis and found out that if you infuse it in coconut oil or butter or things like that, you can take it internally, and ingestion creates a whole different host of medical applications. So I virtually eliminated all of the symptoms of diverticulosis, and I believe I may even be healing those pockets. I haven't had a follow-up colonoscopy to find out, and I'm not looking forward to that option, but probably going to have to happen someday. Anyway, after ingesting it for this issue, I also discovered that the osteoarthritis in my knees disappeared. The psoriasis outbreaks on my skin virtually subsided to nothing. No need for anti-anxiety drugs, antidepressive drugs. I lost approximately 60 pounds in weight. My blood pressure dropped from 145 over around the low 90s to around 115 to 118 over about 68 to 72, and my heart rate floats somewhere between 62 and 70. So from going on the prospect of going on a host of pharmaceutical drugs, I now take one supplementary plant, and it is the full extract cannabis oil therapy. I use the entire plant for my therapy. I'm not isolating one specific cannabinoid. I'm not stripping the THC out to get super high, although there are some medical applications where you need high THC dose. My approach is a whole plant therapy approach with a full balance of cannabinoids and terpenes in order to treat all of my maladies. So that's my personal experience and my personal expertise with cannabis therapy. As far as the information I'm providing on this channel, the studies, the links that are on my personal website, which is oldmangangha.ca, all consider me not, I'm no expert. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a pharmacist, I'm not a scientist, I'm nothing. I'm just a fax machine. All I'm doing is providing you with the existing scientific information that is out there. This is peer-reviewed scientific information, studies that are on the National Health Institute website, and these are actual lab studies. One of the reasons I'm doing this video is I'm doing some research on the Canadian Pediatric Society and how they have issue with the Cannabis Act and protecting youth under 25 and 18. And I was researching and going through there and following all the reference links to the actual studies where they claim that there's actual evidence of damage to teen brains with cannabis use. But when you track these studies down, they're all review studies of literature. There are absolutely no clinical studies anywhere that I can find to indicate that cannabis actually causes permanent damage to a developing teen brain. There's a lot of literature studies, review studies. There are some rat brain cell tissue studies that show some brain morphology, but there's no clinical evidence to indicate that it's negative or that it causes damage. There are some studies on IQ and cognitive ability in regards to that, but there's just as many longitudinal studies that show absolutely no correlation between cannabis as a causal effect of that. There's socioeconomic factors, there's alcohol, smoking, you name it, there's a dozen other factors. Add to this fact that if THC, and this is what they're fixating on, most of these agencies, they're not even considering that there's over 115 other cannabinoids in cannabis that all act on the human body. They regulate THC, they moderate THC, they work in conjunction with THC. So these guys are fixating on one component, and they're studying one component and think that's how cannabis works on the human body. Not even close. For example, they're saying that it causes great damage to the teen brain, and yet in the same breath, they're saying that teen use or pre-adolescent or adolescent use of cannabis in Canada has increased 35-40% in the last 10, 20, 30 years. If that's the case, and THC is so damaging to the cognitive abilities of a developing youth brain, then why are not we having hordes of absolutely stupid, idiotic people now in their 20s, 25, 30s? It's simply not the case. We don't have the manifestation in society of these projected so-called damages based on what's already happened with cannabis use. Now, if you add into the fact that cannabis has increased in THC strength over the course of the last 20 to 30 years, we're even taking more of it in. So there should be literally hordes of idiotic 20 to 25-year-olds out there as a result of being damaged so bad from using cannabis during the teen years. Then you take a look at some of the studies coming out saying that cannabis improves memory in the adult brain. They now have found that cannabis, specifically THC, removes the amyloid beta protein from rat brain cell studies. It removes the protein from the rat brain cell tissue, and that's one of the contributory factors to Alzheimer's disease. So how can, on top of this too, the United States Department of Health and Human Services has patented the application of cannabinoids, and that's THC, including all the other ones as well too, has patented those applications for neuroprotective agents. It's patent number 6630507, I believe is the number. You can look it up online. So literally they're saying the applications of the cannabinoids, the phytocannabinoids in the cannabis plant applied to the human brain are a neuroprotective agent. They list Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's disease, head trauma. So if THC is such a brutally damaging drug to neurons and developing neurons and to the youth brain during this synaptic pruning process, if it's so horribly damaging, why do we not have all these stupid, uncognitive kids running around because they've been smoking marijuana for 5 to 10 years? And how is it that it can be so damaging in the teen years, yet it's a neuroprotective agent once you're out of those teen years? The science just doesn't correlate to what we're hearing in the media and what's being presented by all of these organizations. From my research, all I can see is there seems to be an absolute pervasive negative bias against all forms of cannabis use. It's almost as if government, medical agencies, anybody with any institutionalized learning, pre-learning for the last decades on dealing with cannabis, it's all negative. It's bad, it's going to hurt you. Sure, there's maybe a little bit of pain relief or symptom relief for someone who's suffering from cancer or something. That's all they seem to believe in the medical. Not even close. They've proven since 1974. This first study was commissioned by the previous agency that became the DEA, and they commissioned a study to prove that cannabis suppress the immune system so that they could then make it a Schedule 1 drug and prevent it from being used in the United States. And this was all right around 1973. So they commissioned this study at the University of West Virginia, got these guys together and said, take a look at this, show that it suppresses the immune system, and we'll take those results, and that's how we'll get our Schedule 1. The scientists took several rats from cancer studies, several different types of cancers, and administered different types of cannabinoids in different ratios to these rats. What they found was that delta 9 THC, delta 8 THC, CBN, and some other cannabinoids were able to kill cancer cells via apoptosis and anti-angiogenesis. Apoptosis is the reinitiation of pre-programmed cell death, and anti-angiogenesis prevents cells from growing blood vessels so they can feed. So they found this out in 1974. They published it in 1974, discovered it in 1973. The DEA found out about this, and so it's showing that the cannabis is a positive in health treatment. They seized the results, shut down the study, and then petitioned to have cannabis created as a Schedule 1 drug anyway with absolutely no medical value. I don't understand the reasoning behind that. It makes no sense to me, but those are the facts. You can research that, look it up. That's what happened. It was all during that anti-drug era. We'll go back right into the history since the 1930s. I mean, the anti-cannabis movement started more as a result of a combination of immigration issues, the advent of the pharmaceutical industry in conjunction with the petrochemical industry. There was a lot of issues with industrial hemp, but the key component was when it became a Schedule 1 drug in the United States, and that stopped all research. When I did research on cannabis and started with there's a CCSA video that I have on there in regards to their publication, and they're advising the government. You can take a look at that one as well too. But when I started doing that research, I found the study that was done in 1974, and then there was a huge gap. I couldn't find anything for almost 3 decades. And then it started popping up in the 90s and then the 2000s again. And I finally clued in that that's when the medical cannabis movement started clicking in, and people started treating themselves regardless of the laws in the United States, and the medical institution was forced to start looking at the success stories. And they started doing studies, and they started doing, cell studies, and they're finding there's study after study after study after study that shows various cannabinoids kill cancer cells via apoptosis and anti-angiogenesis. They encourage the growth of healthy cells at the same time by attaching to the exact same receptors. Cannabinoids can recognize a healthy cell from a cancerous cell and initiate death in the cancer cell. That's how it shrinks tumors. It does this without making you lose your hair, without irradiating your body, without poisoning your vital organs. It is a natural compound. Your body takes these compounds and uses them to regulate and moderate virtually every system in your body. And yet our government, our medical institutions, our pediatric institutions, the medical journals are all screaming at our government saying that cannabis is going to destroy our youth. I'm sorry, but that's just a load of crap. There is absolutely no statistical or clinical evidence to support that claim. And all this is doing is continuing to block access to the vast medical benefits that we could be applying to cannabis. We have a brutal opiate crisis in Canada. From coast to coast now, every city is dealing with this crisis. Where do you think this opiate crisis came from? It was the pharmaceutical firms that developed these ever-increasing, stronger opiates because people were developing tolerances to their pain negation capabilities. Doctors kept prescribing them. The pharmaceuticals said they're safe, they're fine, go ahead. Doctors take the pharmaceuticals' word and start pumping the prescriptions out and create a whole host of addicts out there. If cannabis had been legalized, a vast majority of those people could have treated their pain with cannabis that is non-addictive, non-habit forming, and does not destroy your body. I have friends that are desperately seeking to get off opiates right now through cannabis therapy. And the only reason they have to continue to take them is because they're addicted. It's not doing anything for the pain. They're just plain addicted. And they've got a legal prescription from the doctor, and the pharmacist pumps this into their body every week, willingly and happily, and everybody collects their money. So who's the drug dealers here? I'm just asking questions and presenting evidence. I'm not telling anyone out there to take my word for anything I say. Doubt, question every word I have presented for you here today, and go to the internet and research it yourself. If you find something that says what I'm saying is true, don't believe it. Look for something else to corroborate it. You start doing that, and you'll find out that I'm more right than wrong, and the crap that you're hearing in the media is not even close. A little bit different video than you get from OldManGangha, but maybe this is the way it's got to start going. So what I'm going to do is probably do some research sections on some of this stuff, post a few things up, maybe detail on one subject or another. Maybe I'm just going to hit a news article of the week or something like that and try and hit those high points and see if I can contradict or present some balance to the brutally negative bias that is being presented in media and virtually every other institution in our society in regards to cannabis use. For now, love and peace. Have a great day. Hopefully we'll be able to enlighten everybody in the near future. Bye for now.